guys, so I was once again working on my pre-star video to release this week, and some more news dropped about the upcoming expansion. So I'm gonna make this video first. I will try to still release the pre-star this week, so I'll work on 2 videos this week. But yeah, I had to talk about this because they released an update faster than I thought they would, and there's some very useful information. So I thought I'd make a video just going over that and maybe doing some speculation about what the cards could be. So, well, they basically told us the structure. There's going to be 54 cards, 25 preludes, 24 project, 5 corporations. So the 5 corporations we already knew, and that's pretty standard. I'm happy that there are 24 project cards. I thought it might be heavier on prelude cards, like the first prelude expansion, which had 35 and 7. But I'm really happy it's 25 and 24. So let's look at the structure. So they say here, if you don't use any expansions, you'll get all 5 corporations, which means the corporations are not themed with the expansions at all. You get 16 preludes, which leaves 9 preludes, and 0 project cards. So all the project cards are related to the expansion. That's the first thing I want to talk about. All the project cards are related to the expansion, and if you look at the Turmoil, Colonies, and Venus numbers, so we have 8 on Turmoil, which I love because that's my favorite one, 7 on Venus, and 3 on Colonies. So that's 18 out of the 24, and then they say that there are 6 project cards that require 2 of the expansions. Now we maybe think that there's 2 for each combination, but because Colonies only got 3, and it might be the easier one to like mix with the other 2, especially Colonies and Venus. I think there might be 3 for Colonies and Venus, and then maybe 2 for Venus and Turmoil, and then 1 for Colonies and Turmoil, something like that. But that's all speculation. But yeah, there you go. No project cards that are added related to any expansions, which I love. We have enough project cards for the base game. Like, I'm sure there are some people that are upset that they can't use these project cards without the expansions because they don't like the expansions, but we don't need more product cards without the expansions, and like Turmoil didn't get enough cards, so this is really good. And finally, yeah, so if you do some very basic math here, there's 16 preludes that don't have anything to do with any of the expansions, and then for each expansion there's 3 extra, which means there's 3 per expansion, and none of them will be cross expansion. So yeah, you get 16 basic, 3 Turmoil, 3 Colonies, 3 Venus. So now I thought, with that in mind, I could speculate about what the preludes could be for each expansion. And yeah, let's get started. So first off, 3 Venus expansion. Okay. Now, one prelude that I'm pretty sure will happen is one that terraforms Venus, and I think it will be exactly what Giant Solar Shape does. Now, you might think 3 steps is a lot. This card, for example, costs 30, and they try to put the preludes at a value of around 21. So it might be a bit on the overpowered side, but if you think about it, we have Huge Asteroid now. Huge Asteroid does 3 hit steps and takes 5 money from you, and the hit steps are better than the Venus steps. Why? Well, it's a parameter that actually is required to terraform, so you're taking points from someone else, but also 3 hit steps pretty much guarantee you a hit production, whereas 3 Venus steps put you 1 before the card on the Venus track, which means you might be giving the card to someone. Now, the card is not really worth a standard Venus project, but still, it's not giving you anything, and it might put up another player, an opponent, in a position where you can get it. So yeah, I think 3 Venus steps would be fine. You could maybe balance it by taking 1 or 2 cash stops. I don't think it should be 5, because Huge Asteroid is one of the better preludes, but why have it not be close to Huge Asteroid, So yeah, I think 3 Venus steps is gonna be a prelude, and let's talk about what else I think is coming now. We're getting blue preludes, and I'm thinking at least one per expansion is gonna be blue. In addition to a lot of the other 16 preludes being blue, but I think something like Venus Waystation, just a discount on Venus cards. Um, Two seems fine, and then maybe some card draw. So this would be a great prelude, that has synergy with itself, and it's basically a combination of Venus Waystation and MSI's ability to draw cards with a Venus tag, which guarantees you that you can play cards with a discount because there aren't that many Venus cards. Um, so it might not be three cards, it might be two if I had to guess. But I think that would be nice, just a Venus discount together with that prelude, which if you can manage to play with MSI would be really, really powerful. So that's another thing that could happen. Now for the third prelude, that's related to Venus, that's the one I'm not really sure. I think maybe it could have something to do with floaters. Um, Maybe something like floating hubs, which lets you place floaters on another card or maybe on a Venus card. But I'm not really sure what else you could do related to Venus, other than the discount on the tag and the terraforming Venus. So we might get another terraforming Venus. So maybe we get like one that does 3 steps, like I said, and then maybe one that does 2 steps and does something else, like it gives you some titanium or something. Um, Something like that could happen, but I'm definitely sure we got a terraforming one. And beyond the income and 3 victory points, this does give you a nice jump on the Venus track that will let you play some pretty good cards that Venus has with requirements. So off the top of my head, I think Thermophiles, which is like the standard terraforming microbe card for Venus, and sulfuring bacteria, which gives you an income of 3, as long as you don't use it too often. I think those are both at 6%, and then the titanium production I really like, Ishtar mining, I think that's 8. And then there are some point cards. There's Stratospheric Vertex at 12, Venusian Insects, which is one of the best microbe cards in the game, that's at 12, and then the Animal Science one, Venusian Animals, so that's 18, I think. Um, and both animal cards are 1/1, so these are pretty decent. If you can get Stratospheric Birds early, it's maybe the best animal card. It doesn't require you to take blind production, which sometimes you can take that from a player. It only requires a floater, but still, if you get a head start of like 3 steps, and getting the other 3 steps is not that hard with some Venus cards. So yeah. But yeah, that's it for Venus. That's what I think we're getting. Moving on to colonies. So I'm pretty sure, just like with Venus, I'm pretty sure we're getting a prelude that puts a colony in. Now the colony standard product costs 17, and it's fairly priced, unlike the Venus standard product which costs 15 and it's overpriced. The colonies, I feel like it's fairly priced, so we might get something like, I don't know, a colony plus maybe some other thing like collect the bonus immediately, or move that colony, track 1 additional step, something like that would be fun. Or maybe just some titanium that you can use to trade. But yeah, it has to be the colonies and something, maybe in some production, and 1 energy production would be fine. It gets you, 1/3 of the way to the 3. But yeah, I definitely think there's gonna be one that places a colony and then does something else small. Now, what else for colonies? Again, there's gonna be blue cards, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see something that lets you trade. So a prelude that has an action that's just straight. Something similar to Titan Floating Launchpad, except you use floaters in that one. I think you could have it just a direct trade prelude. And that's really nice. That's essentially the same as the 3 energy prelude. For colonies, which is, if you're playing with colonies, that's the best use for the prelude. Otherwise, the 3 energy is not that valuable. So having one that just lets you trade, it would be slightly worse than the 3 energy because 3 energy still has the versatility to let you use as heat, but for most cases, it's about the same. and it lets you trade for free. So I think that could happen, and I think that would be fairly priced at just, tap and trade. Um, Beyond that, something like trade envoys, but it has to come with like some side energy production, or maybe a combination of like trade envoys and rim freighters. Now those cards cost 6 and 4 plus the buy. It costs about 16 together. Um, and the one resource less is not as good at first, but I mean it's related to colonies, so I'm trying hard to think what else it could be here. Then again, we might get to preludes that place on colony, and one has like the rim fighters effect, one has the trade envoys effect. Trade envoys effect is much better than the rim fighters in my opinion. But oh, and there's a card trading colony. So trading colony does exactly that and costs 21. So yeah, I'm gonna say my bet for the first card is exactly trading colony. So yeah. Um, all right. So trading colony, one that lets you trade, similar to Titan Floating Launchpad. And the thing is, that one could be not as good because trading in the first turn is it's really not that great. You want the markers to advance, and you usually have to. You don't want to. I mean, you don't want to overpay for your trade. But yeah, I would say that those two for sure. No, the third one again, we could get another colony, but I'd rather see some effect. I'd rather see some effect, or maybe getting another trade fleet. Now it's hard to say what getting another trade fleet is valued at. There's three cards that do it, but they all do a lot more. Like Spaceport Colony gets you also a colony and some victory points, and Skydogs gets you a discount and gets you 2 victory points. And the third one is Spaceport, which gets you a city. So it's kind of hard to do to like think of what the actual value of an extra trading fleet is, in terms of the way it's costed in cards. But I think it would be really good. I don't think it's worth 21, especially because you getting the second trade fleet early, you might not even be able to use it for a couple of generations, maybe even 4 generations. Like it I usually start training the second and third for my first fleet. The second fleet it could be fourth or fifth, depending on how fast the game is going. So getting a second fleet right off the bat is not that great, but again, maybe you can get the second fleet and 2 energy production. That might be a little too good. But then you only need 1 energy production and you can do the double trading. Um, but even then, you might just trade once. So yeah, the thing about the fleet is that it's very good late, but not really that useful early. So it's hard to decide how to put it in a prelude. But well, these are gonna be my bets. One of the cards will be exactly trading colony, which gives you a colony plus it bumps you up every time you trade, which is great. For the second one, I think that's something that lets you trade for free, so something similar to Titan Floating Launchpad, except it's just tap and trade. And then for the third one, I'm gonna say an extra fleet, and maybe some energy production. I would say 2, even though that might be a little over. Because if you think about it, there's a really good prelude already that just gives you 3. So to take 1 away and give you an extra trading fleet might be too much. But the thing is that 2 is not good until you get the third one. So yeah, let's just say it's that. And finally, Turmoil. Now Turmoil, as I said in the previous video, Turmoil is, in my opinion, the best expansion. It's the one I'm more excited about. But thinking about Preludes, I really didn't know what you could do with it. It was hard to think about because really the colony actions are placing delegates, and that is first of all not very useful in the first generation. Second, it's very cheap and you can't stack it. Like, I mean, you can't, like, there's no advantage in placing 4 delegates in a single party. You just want to, have enough to be the party leader. That's all. And there's really, in the first generation, which is when you play Preludes, there's gonna be one at most in the one you're going for. So yeah, not easy for me to think what kind of preludes you could have with Turmoil. So the first thing I thought about, it's a cheaper a blue prelude that gives you a cheaper way to place a delegate. And so the one that's, it's not a standard project but it's like an action you can take, it's costs 5, so it has to be less than that or it's useless. And I think it has to be more than 2, because 2 would be OP. 2 would be too good. Like if you think 2, Septentribus would just laugh and win the game immediately. Because they can place 1 on each party plus the free one and just gain 2 on the first generation, and then just replace that, the one that becomes chairman every generation, and they get 12 production just like that. And they don't even pay for it because the first generation they gain 2. It's cash positive like the round you do it. So definitely not 2. Now I think 3 is reasonable for everyone except Septentribus. So because with 3 they can still just place 5 plus the free one, that's 15, get 12 back, and so they paid 3 and they essentially got 12 production. 3 for 12 production. It's still insane. And then every turn you have to replace 1, so it's really 3 for 9 production because you would have to pay 1 every generation. But yeah, it's still too easy for them. But then 4 would not be enough. Like, it wouldn't be that much less than the 5. Like, who else would play that prelude that just gives you a 1 discount on placing a delegate, right? It wouldn't be very good. So I think my best bet, and again, it's broken with Septentribus, is to have a prelude that places a delegate for 3 as an action. And it has to be multiple. If it's once per turn, it's also not good enough. So it has to be. It can be a tap action. It just has to be like a cashback on placing the delegate or something like that, so that you can do it multiple times per turn. And then I'm sort of drawn a blank as to what else the prelude can do. Yeah, I'm not sure what else you could do with Turmoil, because the other, like, if you think of the other Turmoil cards, they like replace the chairman, take away a delegate, and give a delegate. And none of that is useful in the first, before the game begins. So maybe something like double the bonuses whenever you get them, which might be too good. But yeah, I'm not sure what else they could do with Turmoil. Now, one important thing is that they did say that these numbers are subject to change. Yeah, these number here. These numbers may shift up and down a little in our final adjustment, but not by much. So yeah, it could change a little. Now, here's kind of a clue. And they say an example is a card having a certain function, but also giving you an immediate kickback on mega credits depending on your number of colonies. That's really not the type of cross expansion card I hope we get. I'm gonna wait to see if they give us the actual numbers of these 6 cards, like what the combinations are, before I make some bets. But I just hope they don't make an Aerobrake Ammonia X asteroid of expansions, like place a colony and terraform Venus 1 step, and it's super overcosted and it's not useful unless you're doing both. Even though colonies are really versatile, The same thing with placing a delegate, but I'm hoping we get something more like, wait for Unity to be empowered to get a good effect on Venus. Something that's actually like synergic already. Not just two effects that are related to an expansion and you hope you get them together. Yeah, so no Airbreak Moon Asteroid of the expansions. So I really hope it's not like a cash kickback on the number of colonies. That's not a great effect anyway, because how many colonies do you have early and late? Who cares about the cash kickback? So yeah, it's more something like I'm hoping the Turmoil ones just have someone the empower requirement, and for Venus, they have their interaction with Unity. And for colonies, it's just production, maybe something that lets you terraform Venus. But anyway, I won't be speculating more on those 6 project cards. I'll do that when the numbers comes out. But yeah, let me know what do you think. Do you like my bets on what the Prelude cards we could be getting are? And more importantly, what the fuck could the 3 Turmoil Preludes be? They can't be like place 4 delegates, which would be like fairly costed for 21. And so it has to be an action or a discount on placing delegates. Oh, you know what? +1 influence. I like that actually. Okay, so yeah, I got my second bet. So 1 is gonna be a discount on placing a delegate. 1 is just gonna be more influence. And is +1 not enough? Is +1 too little? Yeah, maybe +2 is too much. That's kind of tough to think about. Yeah, I'm gonna say +1 plus some resources or something, and then I'm not sure what else there could be. Double the bonuses. Okay, that's my bet. 1 prelude that doubles the cash bonus, which would be amazing. 1 that gives you a discount of 2 on placing delegates. So only the ones that cost 5. So yeah, it costs 3 to place the delegate, and 1 that gives you +1 influence and some cash, or +1 influence and a delegate. I'm gonna say that's the one. Yeah, +1 influence and a delegate that you can place on the first round. I think that's kind of fair. I mean, influence can be hard to like define the value, because I find there are games that it doesn't matter that much. But +1 influence throughout the game it's actually pretty decent. So yeah, okay, there I have my bets. Tell me what you think. Tell me your bets, and I'll see you next time. I'll try to do that Brister video this week. Bye.